Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. Money. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Welcome, welcome. I am Dena. You're tuned into another discussion with Dena. Is there a $5,000 check on the way? All right now.
Floats the idea of sending big stimulus checks to millions of Americans.
The money would come from savings, Trump says, have been uncovered by the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. And at an event in Florida last night, Trump said he's thinking about using 20% of the savings to pay down debt and giving another 20% to Americans. That could potentially mean checks up to $5,000.
Waging war on government waste, fraud, and abuse, and they're curbing inflation and saving taxpayers billions and billions of dollars every single day.
Against DOGE continue. Critics are calling the work of Elon Musk and others a, quote, corporate coup.
DOGE, DOGE rebate checks are possible for Americans. Musk Trump teased there is a possible plan to give Americans a $5,000 dividend check. Now, 20% of the savings from Elon Musk's cost-cutting task force is coming back to you, America. Could it be? DOGE, or the Department of Government Efficiency, is said to be considering and floating the idea of a potential $5,000 rebate for American households, following a suggestion from billionaire Elon Musk that taxpayers should benefit from cost-cutting measures at the federal level. Now, the agency has made drastic cuts across multiple federal agencies, including thousands of workers that have been terminated or put on administrative leave. Among the agencies that have already seen cuts include the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, the Department of Education, the National Institutes of Health, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Now, these comments were made on Wednesday after Musk posted on X that he would check with the president about a proposal to distribute tax refund checks funded by savings from the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Now, the idea was originally suggested by James Fishback, who is the CEO of Azoria Investment, and he also referred to it as a DOGE dividend. Now, Trump stated, "We're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% back to pay down debt," he said at the F2 Priority Summit and Investment Conference he was attending in Miami. And this event was sponsored by Saudi government. Now, Trump didn't provide any further details on DOGE and how the direct payments to taxpayers would be done, but economists and policy experts across the political spectrum have expressed a huge amount of skepticism about this actually happening. I just think it is a wonderful idea, and it is much needed by many. There are others that would suggest it is merely a stunt, one to get the hearts and the minds of the people in order to gain support for what the administration is doing, because there are many that are not pleased with it, especially those that happen to be Democrats. There are still others who continue to have questions regarding this actual savings claimed by DOGE. The agency reports $55 billion in savings. Some say it is much less than what is actually being reported. Now, also noted is that the New York Times revealed that a supposed $8 billion reduction in federal contracts were actually just an $8 million adjustment, an error that raises further scrutiny. The idea of this so-called DOGE dividend had surfaced on social media. And it was a 4-page proposal that was posted again by this ex-user by the name of James Fishback, as I stated before. And it caught the eye of Musk, who we know is the owner of X, and said after seeing it that he would pitch that idea to Trump. But according to Fishback's calculation, 20% of the supposed $2 trillion in eventual DOGE savings would be provided to some taxpayers in the form of a direct tax rebate. And it is estimated at this time at $5,000 per household. However, only households with a tax liability would receive the payment, which means that people that have lower income generally don't generally owe any taxes wouldn't be included in this. Some economists and policy experts feel that the plan isn't likely to materialize at all. Just dreams and hopes, further citing the unlikelihood of ever finding anywhere close to $2 trillion in federal cuts, not to mention legislative hurdles that are necessary to approve this particular kind of direct tax payment. I really don't know why this would be difficult. It is no more difficult than it was to give the stimulus during COVID. Now, Jessica Reed, an economist and senior person at the Manhattan Institute, told CBS Money Watch it is completely impossible for DOGE to save $2 trillion, and that 2/3 of the $7 trillion federal budget goes to Social Security, Medicare, defense, veterans, and interest on the debt, all of which has been taken off the table by President Trump. And that saving $2 trillion would require eliminating nearly every remaining federal program. DOGE has no legal or constitutional authority to cut this spending. Congress must pass a law that will not happen, she said. Trump repeated when he was on Sean Hannity's talk show. Again, he made a vow, and he's made this vow several times before, that Social Security and Medicare cuts were off the table. Social Security would not be touched, he said, unless other than fraud or something, he said. Now, he says it's going to be strengthened, but he continued to say it won't be touched. Medicare, Medicaid, none of that stuff is going to be touched, according to Trump. Now, 2/3 of the nation, $6.7 trillion in annual spending, is due to what is considered to be mandatory commitment programs. Those programs include Social Security, Medicare, and defense. Now, it is noted that on February 19, the House Republicans actually did a budget proposal, and if enacted, it is said to include deep cuts to Medicaid, a nearly $900 billion a year government health insurance program that serves about 79 million, mostly low-income or disabled Americans. DOGE announces it has made cuts that add up to about $8.4 billion, according to the task force own documentation, while only been operating since Trump was inaugurated back in January 20th. There are others who state and believe its cuts are far from reaching Musk's stated goal of shaving $500 billion in annual government spending, let alone reaching near $2 trillion, according to the so-called experts. Now, Alex Norristy, Vice President for Economic and Social Policy Studies at the Cato Institute, also told CBS Money Watch that the plan is just unrealistic. I'd love to see it, but I think it is unrealistic, especially in the first year, and certainly unrealistic without Congress getting involved. Now, any new tax refund check would need the approval of Congress, which controls government spending and is in charge of crafting tax laws. But House Republicans are currently negotiating a budget proposal that would enact trillions of dollars in spending cuts to pay for an extension of Trump's 2017 tax cuts, as well as other tax provisions the president promised on the campaign trail. Now, a DOGE dividend will make their numbers even harder to work in the budget reconciliation. This is according to Alex Jaquez, Chief of Policy and Advocacy at Groundwork Collaborative. He also told CBS Money Watch, it's hard to see how to make the math work. Perhaps, just maybe, there would be some kind of plan for some kind of DOGE dividend to materialize. It might just be something much smaller than the amount that has been indicated, as some believe, due to the impossibility of finding $2 trillion in federal cuts. Experts also raised the issue of whether or not DOGE's cuts could be somehow reversed by the courts, given that the group is facing multiple lawsuits over its access to what is considered to be very sensitive data across various agencies, as well as over the legality of its creation to begin with. So like Jaquez says, I wouldn't be budgeting a $5,000 expense in the near term, and there are others that say don't hold your breath waiting for that $5,000 at all. But still, we have others that say that this $5,000 refund or dividend can become a reality for many American citizens, or maybe it is all just hype, just more propaganda intended to get the masses of people on the side of the current administration. I think they already got that, but it still remains to be seen. However, I am certain that the majority of households in these United States could really use a $5,000 tax boost of tangible funds. In case these people haven't realized it, many are experiencing financial stress today. Just look around at their economy. It's a fact, regardless of what the so-called experts, economists, or politicians may think. $5,000 would really be a boost to the majority of American households today. Now, I want to know what you think. Are the experts who say not to bank on ever getting this $5,000 DOGE dividend right? Do you think households should receive the $5,000 dividend payment at all? Subscribe and let me know your thoughts on this topic of conversation. And what would you do with the $5,000 check? I want to thank you for listening. Join me next time for another discussion with Dena. Ta-ta!
This concludes your daily discussions with Dena. Join us Monday through Friday at 12:30 p.m. Like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment.